next game we have is Tampa Bay and Washington. A game in which Washington trailed 24-0 and ended up coming back all the way.
Yeah, that's inexcusable if you're the Buccaneers. Really taking that lead into the second half, you got to be able to hang on. You got to be able to use your running backs, Doug Martin, Bobby Rainey, and run the football. You milk clock and don't allow Washington to come back. This is a Washington team that's terrible. I mean, I could understand if you're up 24 to a team like New England or Indianapolis, New Orleans. I could understand that just because of those offenses they have. But this is a team that the Washington Redskins, they don't have a powerful offense like that. Kirk Cousins is your quarterback. I mean, you should be able to stop Kirk Cousins in the second half. It's not like he's an extremely compelling quarterback that can just dominate the game by himself. So really just an inexcusable performance by the Tampa Bay defense.
Yeah, Tampa Bay's defense really hurt them in that one. When you look at Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston finally had a good game without throwing any interceptions. 2 touchdowns, no picks, 297 yards.
Yeah, this was one of probably his best game, and he did it on the deep ball. He hit Mike Evans early on in the game for a 40-yard catch and run. Most of it was in the air. I think it was like a 5-yard catch and run, actually. But good for him to get the ball going. That's what he did at Florida State, throw the football deep. And, he's got a good arm, so they got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, this is a plus for Winston and the Buccaneers just because of his performance. He's been really disappointing this year, and for him to finally have a good performance but lose is a little disappointing if you're a Bucs fan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They can't give up leads like that, period.
Moving on to our next game, we have Oakland beating San Diego. San Diego was able to come back after Oakland had, like a 37-6 lead?
Yeah, it was 37-6, and really they went into max prevent, the Raiders did. They really should have waited a little bit longer before they went into max prevent, but they didn't want to give up any big plays super quickly. They were able to hang on, though. Oakland was the 37-29 scoreboard at the end of the day isn't indicative how close that game was. I mean, it wasn't close at all, really. San Diego scored 23 points in the fourth quarter. As a Raider fan, I'd like to see that decreased, or at least see the Raiders score some points offensively. I think they kind of turned off the Jets, at least in the fourth quarter on offense, the Raiders did. So you'd like to see a little bit less conservativeness on offense for the Raiders, a little more productivity running the football especially.
Yeah,
but overall, it's a good win. Great win, actually.
It's a good win. Carr had a phenomenal game. I think Carr is making a case for a Pro Bowl season. What do you think on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the AFC. At this point, I just like to see him lead us to a few more victories, and definitely hope for the best. But he's playing with real confidence right now. The way he's throwing the football, slinging it around the field, you can just tell that some of those throws that he's making are NFL throws. He's throwing receivers open, which is huge in the NFL because you're not always, most of the time, your receiver's going to be covered against good quality cornerbacks. So, and good for Derek Carr. As a Raider fan, I'm happy. And against the Jets next week, it'll be a tough one, but at least they'll be back home.
Yeah, another thing to look at in this game, the Chargers really didn't move the ball until they started dumping it off on those little short passes again. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of that was the Raiders just playing pure press man early on and having a lot of success. They really rattled Rivers early. They only had 1 sack on the game, but they were getting pressure. I like to see the sack numbers go up, especially Aldon Smith. Khalil Mack had a good game, but I'd like to see that pass rush to get there more often.
Yeah, definitely the Raiders need to improve their pass rush a little. They had a great game. Phenomenal job by the D-line, though, tipping some balls up and getting some interceptions.
Well, yeah, a lot of tip passes, including the one early on that Malcolm Smith picked off. He had a huge game, 11 tackles, a sack, and an interception, of course. They had 2 interceptions on the day. Hit that one, and then DJ Hayden had one as well. So,
yeah, next game, moving on, we have the Giants beating the Cowboys 27-20. Really not much for this game. Cowboys had a decent game. Offensively, Matt Castle had a good game other than throwing that one pick six. When you look at the Giants' disappointing offensive performance, their defense was able to keep them in this game, get a score. Defense and special teams really won the Giants the game. So just mistakes from the Cowboys causing a loss in this one. The big story, though, is the altercation between Dez Bryant and Greg Hardy. What do you have for us on that, Matt?
Well, Greg Hardy has been a guy, I mean, he's an airhead. He's made some stupid decisions, obviously charged with domestic assault after he, I guess, pushed his girlfriend onto a bed of guns and threatened to kill her, but those charges were eventually released. He also made insensitive tweets about the Twin Towers and then, of course, about Tom Brady's wife the other day, last week, and now this. What I don't get, though, is what the hell is going on? What's Jason Garrett doing? Him and owner Jerry Jones backing him up. I mean, I understand to a certain point you want to back up your players, but look, he's an airhead. I mean, what are you going to do with this guy who's just causing your team trouble? On the field, he's performing. He's had 3 sacks in 2 games, but off the field, there's a bunch of altercations. And on the field, actually. I mean, that was an on-the-field altercation with Dez Bryant. So you have a lot of bickering, a lot of head colliding, head banging between Cowboys players with Greg Hardy. So I just think it's another distraction that the Cowboys don't need at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely. Greg Hardy has shown himself to be a very disrespectful player. The Cowboys need to handle that better. They have to keep him on a shorter leash. Obviously, even after the domestic violence thing, he tweeted about it and was I forget exactly what he did, but he was bragging about how he got his suspension lowered and all this stuff. I mean, just very disrespectful. And I think that's going to come back to haunt him in his career. I don't think he's going to last much longer in the NFL if he continues to act like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. The only thing is that the NFL teams definitely they definitely look for more talent, and he has that talent, and sometimes teams put talent in front of character, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Yep.
So unfortunate story there with Greg Hardy, but moving on, we have the Panthers beating the Eagles 27-16 in this one. It was kind of a weird game when you look at it. Sam Bradford threw that one pick. You remember it was the guy wasn't even looking, came up with it. Then the next play, they called a pick on something that definitely was not an interception. Did you see that play at all when Cam Newton threw?
Yeah, it looked like it was a fumble. He stripped it out of him. Nolan Jenkins did, I believe, or Nolan Carroll, did. This is definitely an opportunistic Philadelphia secondary. I mean, they're getting interceptions left and right, so they're making big plays. The thing is they need some help from those receivers on offense. Sam Bradford didn't have a terrible game. I mean, he had a bunch of drop passes. Specifically, the sophomore receiver, Jordan Matthews, he had a few drop passes that were huge in this game. They got to help him out and make some of those catches. Otherwise, Philadelphia is in this game. I mean, they really were in this game till the last 2 minutes or so. But as for the Eagles, they're now 3-4, 1 game back of the Giants. Who knows at this point who's going to win this division, because it's wide open.
Yeah, a lot of these teams in that division are not great. When you look at the Cowboys with their struggles, without Romo, they're really nothing. Without Romo and Bryant. And then when you look at the Eagles, you've just got a lot of question marks there. Brian Matthews, 6 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. And Murray with 18 carries. I think you got to start handing the ball off to Matthews. I think it's time.
Matthews. I mean, we've talked about this before. Matthews fits the scheme better than Murray does. Murray's a north-south runner, but when he gets the football, he's got to run north-south. He can't run left-right. He's got to put his foot down and get upfield. So, I'd like to see him be more efficient that way. But as for now, Ryan Matthews looks like the better runner.
Yep, definitely Ryan Matthews has outplayed Murray this season. So, the final game from this week, Monday Night Football, Cardinals 26, Ravens 18. Not really much of this one. Ravens had a lead for a little, then the Cardinals started driving. Palmer had a good game, 2 touchdowns, 275 yards. Chris Johnson with a phenomenal game, 18 carries, 122 yards, and a touchdown. He had a big 60-yard run, which John Harbaugh wasn't too happy about. He's trying to argue that he's down or progress, but I think it was a good call by him.
He wasn't down, though, yeah.
He was never down. he was on top of the player and was able to get up and then run all the way down the sideline for a big gain.
That was a heck of a play by Chris Johnson, who I'm really impressed with this season. Last season with the Jets, he had career lows in basically every category except for yard per carry. But then he comes to Arizona in this Bruce Arians scheme behind a big old offensive line. I mean, you look at guys Bobby Massey, Jared Valdir, Mike Upati, who they acquired from the Niners. So really a big old offensive line for him to run behind, and he's doing quite well.
Yep, the Cardinals have definitely been one of the more surprising teams this year. I think Chris Johnson is definitely a candidate for comeback player of the year. What would you say there?
Yeah, I would agree as well. Like I said, I mean, he had career lows last year, so coming back and bouncing back, I believe he's already over 550 yards on the season. I'm not sure what his exact numbers are. I could check that in a sec, but definitely Chris Johnson has played himself a good season this far.